Good afternoon and welcome to Spectrum Television News at noon. I am Uyai Imam, coming to you live from Uyozi, Akwa State Capital. Let's take a look at the headlines. Presidency defends President Tinubu's executive order on oil revenue. Governor Moino says TSA implementation will boost revenue in Akwa Ibom. Also in the news, Trump's new tariff comes into effect at 10%. We'll bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. This is the news at noon. We head first to the nation's leader, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has called on Muslim and Christian leaders in the country to show greater compassion for the poor and underprivileged by pursuing policies that cater to the needs of the majority in the grassroots. The president made the call on Monday while hosting governors for the breaking of an interfaith fast at the presidential villa, said the simultaneous periods of abstinence and pertinence for both religions underscore a common humanity. Disclosing this in a statement, presidential spokesman Bayo Nanuga said Tinubu noted that Ramadan and Lent provide opportunities for leaders in both religions to reflect further on the plight of others and to design programs that will directly impact the livelihoods of many. The president said more could be achieved, especially in reducing poverty and empowering the youth. In the meantime, the presidency has defended President Bola Tinubu's executive order, which halted revenue deductions by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, and other agencies. The special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Nanuga, stated that criticism of the directive by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasen, demonstrated a lack of understanding of the constitutional supremacy over ordinary legislation. Recall that Pengasen had opposed the presidential fiat, criticizing the president of violating the Petroleum Industry Act (PIA) with his revenue retention order. The presidential spokesman insisted the union made a knee-jerk reaction without studying the constitutional provisions underpinning the directive. Onanuga explained that the executive order derives its authority from Section 5 of the 1999 Constitution, which vests executive powers of the Federation in the President, including the maintenance of the Constitution and implementation of federal laws. Away from that, the federal government has assured investors in Nigeria's mining sector that their assets will be fully protected as part of efforts to attract more investment into the industry. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, gave the assurance during a recent engagement with stakeholders, stating that the government is committed to safeguarding investments and creating a stable business environment. He explained that Nigeria's adoption of international standards, including Cape Town Convention, provides legal backing and protection for mining equipment and other movable assets used in the sector. The minister added that the ongoing reforms by the federal government are aimed at strengthening regulations, improving transparency, and positioning Nigeria as a competitive destination in the global mining sector. Meanwhile, the federal government has reiterated its resolve to strengthen border security, enhance veterans' welfare, and review key defense policy documents to reposition Nigeria's national security architecture for emerging threats. The Minister of Defense, retired General Christopher Musa, stated this while receiving members of the Alumni Association of the National Defense College in Abuja. This was contained in the statement by the Deputy Director, Information and Public Relations, Ministry of Defense, Endaline Chukwu in Abuja. Musa said Nigeria's security environment remained fluid and increasingly complex, making periodic review of existing defense frameworks imperative. The minister disclosed that the ministry would liaise with relevant authorities, including the Permanent Secretary and other strategic stakeholders, to commence structured engagements toward reviewing critical defense policies and related instruments. From the legislature, the National Assembly has announced the postponement of its plenary resumption, moving the schedule from today, February 24, 2026 to Thursday, March 5, 2026. The decision was communicated through a statement signed by the clerk of the National Assembly, Komaru Ogunlana. The postponement is intended to allow committees sufficient time to complete ongoing budget defense sessions with ministries, departments, and agencies. The adjustment comes as lawmakers continue detailed scrutiny of the 2026 appropriation bill, with several committees still engaging government agencies to ensure comprehensive budget evaluation. Both the Senate and the House of Representatives are expected to resume plenary proceedings promptly at 11 a.m. on the new date. The National Assembly leadership expressed regrets for any inconvenience caused by the shift and urged all members to note the rescheduled session. In a separate development, the federal government has withdrawn the forgery charge brought against a constitutional lawyer, Professor Mike Ozeheme, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. The charge was filed by the Independent Criminal Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, following a judgment of a London court in respect of a property belonging to former FCT Minister, the late General Jeremiah Useni. Recall that the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation had last month taken over the case for effective prosecution, but the Director of Public Prosecution of the Federation, Rotimi Oyedepo San, told Justice Peter Kemeke of the FCT High Court that he was withdrawing the case file for further instruction. Oyedepo said the application was brought in line with Section 108 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. In a short ruling, Justice Kekemeke held that the application, having not been objected, is granted and the charge thereby withdrawn and accordingly dismissed. Back here on the home front in Akwa Ibom, the state governor, Pastor Moina, has said that the implementation of the Treasury Single Account (TSA) in the state will boost revenue growth and serve as a strategic tool to drive holistic development, enhance transparency, and strengthen accountability across ministries, departments, and agencies. Speaking during an engagement with revenue officers and key stakeholders at the banquet hall, Government House, Uyo, the governor explained that the TSA will help shore up internally generated revenue, eliminate leakages, and provide empirical data to support planning and other development initiatives, highlighting gains from the ongoing system reforms. Governor Eno revealed that over 2,000 unaccredited workers had been uncovered within the state civil service through a digital verification exercise driven by the Ministry of Science and Digital Economy, and appreciated the Commissioner for helping to drive the vision. In his opening remarks, the Commissioner for Finance, Almond Bob, described the TSA initiative as a major public financial management reform under the present administration. He explained that the engagement was designed to address stakeholders' concerns and agree on modalities for the remittance of operational funds to revenue-generating MDAs and institutions. Also speaking, the Deputy Speaker of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, Kofre Basi Didem, the Chairman of the House Committee on Finance and Appropriation, Dr. Ettore Bong victim, and the State Accountant General, Pastor Uwem Andresian, applauded the governor for institutionalizing a sustainable digital revenue system that will endure beyond his tenure. They expressed satisfaction with the innovation and assured stakeholders that anticipated bottlenecks have been resolved to guarantee a seamless transition. Government House correspondent Jane Uwa reports that high point of the event was a detailed presentation on the state's remittance platform, Aqua Remit, by the Commissioner for Science and Digital Economy, Dr. Frank Ekpeong, outlining operational guidelines and compliance expectations under the TSA framework. Now to Africa. Chad has shut its border with neighboring Sudan following clashes linked to the conflict in Sudan that claimed the lives of 5 Chadian soldiers. The Chadian government announced the closure, citing repeated incursions and violations committed by forces in Sudan's conflict. According to Chadian officials, fighting between Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces and troops loyal to Sudan's government unfolded in the border town of Tain. Reports by the United Nations say the war in Sudan has unleashed the world's worst and largest hunger crisis, as well as displaced millions. On the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump's new global tariffs have come into effect at 10% after the Supreme Court blocked many of his sweeping import taxes last Friday. The new tariff rate is lower than expected, as Trump had said he would impose a levy of 15%. According to reports, the executive order signed by Trump on the temporary import duty is intended to address fundamental international payments problems and continue the administration's work to rebalance trade relationships to benefit American workers, farmers, and manufacturers. Still on the foreign scene, Metropolitan Police says Lord Medelson has been released on bail hours after his arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The Metropolitan Police said the 72-year-old man was released pending further investigation. Recall that Lord Medelson was arrested at an address in Camden, North London on Monday and taken to a police station for interview. The force launched an investigation earlier this month over allegations that while he was serving as a government minister, Lord Medelson had passed on market-sensitive government information to the late convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Still to come in the news. Osimhen returns to training ahead of Galatasaray Juventus rematch. Do stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. To conclude the news on this hour. On our business news, the federal government has advanced discussions with China's GCL Group on a proposed $5.7 billion investment package aimed at strengthening power generation, mining and industrial manufacturing. For Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, received the high-level delegation in Abuja led by Senator Orji Kalu. The talks are part of Nigeria's broader strategy to attract strategic capital inflows that will accelerate industrial growth. According to a report, proposals under consideration include large-scale energy projects, mineral processing facilities, and new factories designed to create jobs, expand exports, and add value to local resources. Officials say the initiative aligns with reforms introduced under President Bola Tinubu, which have been credited with boosting investor confidence. Edu emphasized that the early engagement reflects Nigeria's determination to shift from raw commodity exports to domestic production, thereby strengthening energy security, industrial capacity, and long-term economic growth. Still in business, the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Kadoso, has advocated coordinated reforms in cross-border digital payments as a catalyst for inclusive growth, stronger financial stability, and deeper global financial integration across developing economies. The CBN Governor said efficient and reliable payment systems are fundamental to economic inclusion. He, however, stressed that building systems capable of attracting broad participation requires tackling persistent challenges such as high remittance charges, prolonged settlement timelines, fragmented infrastructure, and heavy compliance obligations. According to him, reforms within the financial system are designed to eliminate these bottlenecks and deliver a seamless, efficient payment ecosystem that benefits households, businesses, and institutions alike. On our health news, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has called for intensified collaboration to enable Nigeria meet and possibly surpass the 2030 global targets for the elimination of major diseases and harmful practices. She said recent gains in the fight against HIV and AIDS, tuberculosis, cervical cancer, syphilis, hepatitis B, female genital mutilation, neglected tropical diseases, and vaccine-preventable illnesses demonstrate that sustained partnership can fast-track national health goals. In a statement, Oluremi urged development partners, governors' wives, and coordinators of her Renewed Hope initiative to consolidate progress made so far, stressing that renewed determination and coordinated action were critical to reaching underserved communities and protecting vulnerable groups, particularly women and children. The First Lady spoke after receiving the United Nations Children's Fund country representative Wafa Abdelatif and her delegation at the State House, Abuja. Still in health, as the Lassa fever outbreak surges in the country, claiming 70 lives in less than 2 months, the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, Dr. Jide Idris, has attributed delays in detection and response in some states to high specimen transportation cost, reporting inconsistencies and weak data validation systems. He further highlighted poor internet connectivity and a lack of funds to procure data as factors affecting real-time reporting. The NCDC DG, in an interview with newsmen, explained that transporting samples from remote communities to state laboratories remained expensive and challenging, particularly in hard-to-reach areas. It was noted that getting specimens from local areas to state hospital was costly, adding that fuel prices and transportation costs affected turnaround time. Now to sports. Victor Osimhen is in contention to face Juventus after returning to training following a minor knee injury. Osimhen was left out of Galatasaray's squad for the 2-0 defeat to Konyaspor last Saturday as a precaution. Juventus will host Galatasaray in turn on Wednesday. Recall that Galatasaray won the first leg 5-2 with Osimhen providing 2 assists. Still in sports, Scotland and Ireland will face host England at the Women's T20 World Cup after the draw for these summarized. Scotland and Ireland booked their place at the World Cup in the qualifying tournament in Nepal earlier this month. They joined England in Group 2 alongside West Indies, New Zealand and Sri Lanka. The game between England and Scotland at Headingley on June 20 will mark the first occasion the two countries have met in any kind of Cricket World Cup fixture, men or women, in the UK. On entertainment news, singer Ahmed Ololade, popularly known as Asake, has emerged as the most streamed artist of all time on Spotify. The streaming giant recently released the list of the top 5 most streamed artists of all time in Nigeria to mark the 5th anniversary of its operation in the country. Asake topped the list, followed by Wizkid and Seyi Vibez at number 2 and 3 respectively. Burna Boy came 4th, while Davido took the 5th position. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do well to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTVLive.ng. This has been Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai Amen. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon.